Good Monday morning to you. Mike Naso here from IPR365.com with the latest on the tropics. Taking a look out there, it is August 16th, and we are getting in towards the heart of hurricane season. You can see out there this morning we have a very large blow-up of thunderstorms, but it's over Mexico, not a concern. A little blow-up down here near Costa Rica, and a wave moving through the islands. In fact, the NOGAPS model was indicating that we could see a tropical storm heading on up towards the Yucatan, and it may be this wave entering the Caribbean that is eventually seeing come out of the western Caribbean towards the Yucatan. And here in the Gulf, we have the remnant of Tropical Depression 5, which is now moving offshore into the Gulf of Mexico, and if it redevelops, it looks like conditions will be favorable so long as it is over water. Now let's get straight to the model guidance on that, because that is really the only feature right now. You can see the models initialize it over the Florida Panhandle here, and its current motion is straight towards the south-southwest, which would take it right into Merida, Mexico in about 3-4 days. However, it is anticipated to turn back to the west, then west-northwest, and once again take a slow, agonizing loop around, and it looks like this will be one of those systems that literally comes up like that, loops around, and then comes up again if you follow it throughout all this time. That is a very unusual track. But it could be out over water long enough to become a tropical storm, and that's what we're going to be watching for most definitely. Here's the latest look at it on the North American satellite, and you could definitely see there is still some good cloud activity with it. The thunderstorms were blowing up a lot yesterday. It's still flaring up here south of the low. You could, of course, see the low pressure there. It's about 1,009 millibars. Low enough pressure for a depression. If circulation moves over water and it's well organized, it could very well become TD5 once again. And then take that track just like this. You could definitely see we have high pressure in the area, and that is helping with the steering motion back towards the south and then eventually back towards the west-northwest. How deep a turn might have a play on intensity if the system does redevelop into a tropical storm and makes landfall in Mississippi is probably very weak, but if it were to take more of a southerly jog and then a slow westward dig like this back up towards like that, it might have a little bit more time to intensify. Nevertheless, not looking for a hurricane by any means, at least not at this time, but a tropical storm could be in the cards here if this system continues to move back out over water. You can see wind shear for it is not a problem. Shear is very low and decreasing in the Gulf of Mexico. Pretty low in the Caribbean too for our wave coming in. We'll keep an eye on that. And off Africa is decreasing as well for a tropical wave which is moving off the coastline that I'll tell you about in just a second. Now, a lot of people have been mentioning this hurricane season's forecast to be so active. Where are the hurricanes? Ignore that we had the strongest hurricane in 44 years. Where are the hurricanes now? Well, here's the deal. In recent years, 2004 and 5, it seems as though we have a lot more activity in early August or even July. But despite that, the bulk of the activity is yet to come. 1995, 15 years ago, we had only been up to Hurricane Erin by this point. We still had Felix all the way over to Tanya to deal with in the Atlantic Basin, including Hurricane Marilyn, which devastated the Virgin Islands, Hurricane Luis, a Category 4, which did the same, Hurricane Felix, a Category 4, which tortured North Carolina looping around. We had many, many more Cape Verde hurricanes. Hurricane Roxanne was a major hurricane into the Yucatan, and then of course Hurricane Opal slamming in to the Florida coast. And that all came after this date. Now that's just 15 years ago. Look at the year 2000. If you remember tracking the year 2000 10 years ago, we had 3 storms at once. We had Isaac, which was a Cat 4 way out here, spinning out to sea. Joyce, which looked to be a future major hurricane, even though it panned out not to be. And Keith, which ended up becoming the worst hurricane of the season, a Cat 4 off Belize. At the same time, you know what that date was? September 28th, when all 3 of those were cranking and Keith was developing prior to becoming a major hurricane. That goes to show that that could still be over a month from now when we first get to the point to where we go, man, activity's a lot. Same thing 2001. Look at this. We had Cat 4 Michelle in November, Cat 4 Iris in September. We didn't even get Erin as a major hurricane until September 9th or 10th of that year, and we had a lot more activity after that. 2003, same thing. Fabian, didn't even develop to the end of August. Isabel, not till almost mid-September. So I mean, what are we looking at here? 2004, Francis didn't come till late August. Ivan came after that. Jean came after that. Gaston came after that. And even in a year like 2008, we hadn't even seen Gustav or Ike or Hannah or Omar or Paloma yet. So even though people are rushing to conclusions, remember, we already almost had a major hurricane. And if anything that nasty looking came in early to late June, early mid late June, anything like that would warn me that by the time September comes, late August, September, we could really be up the creek there if things look bad. Of course, this is looking bad right now off Africa. This is a very well-defined tropical wave. Most models, global models, and take this to a hurricane, a major hurricane even, and move it straight west at least until 70 or so. After that, it's too far out, but they show more developing beyond it and further south with more of a threat to the islands down the road, and we are going to have to watch it very carefully, because we're getting into the heart of hurricane season. But I'm Mike Naso from IPR. That'll do it this time for the tropics. I'll see you next time.